Hello, everybody. This is Grayson. We are going to be crashing out today with Chris
Hey, what's going on, y'all? We're back.
and Jaren.
Hello, we are back.
Would you like to start us off, Chris?
Yeah, so there was a lot of news this week. Perhaps the biggest week of news we've had, yet in terms of policy making. The trade war has begun, guys. Whether or not we were wanting it, it has begun. So, what all do you guys know about tariffs? I feel like that's a good place to start.
Okay, I'm gonna give it a little breakdown, and then if I mess something up, just correct me.
Yeah.
Correct me once I'm done. Okay, basically, tariff is something that's put on the company importing something in. Correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So-
The most general way to define a tariff is that it is a tax on imported goods.
Okay, so the person, basically, I order something, but I have to pay this fine whenever it's coming from this other place.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
So the way like they trickle down to us, people like us three here, is of course the tax the tariff gets put in place. At first, it's the company, it's the corporation that's supposed to be paying that tariff.
The corporation that's ordering it in
Yeah,
from
the
the other
corporation is
country.
ordering it in
Okay.
and will thus be supplying it to us. But the thing is that there's no world in which any company, even a small business, will pay that outright.
Especially a small business.
Especially a small business. But especially on the side of corporations because of just general corporate greed. So what's going to happen is that tariff is going to pretty much translate into a tax that us consumers will have to pay for that good.
Just more f***ing taxes.
More taxes, pretty much. It's not an outright tax, but it pretty much operates like one. You're going to see
Exactly.
the prices rise because the corporations and the businesses have to pay that tax.
And also, I want to clarify, we're not hating on small businesses.
We're not hating on small
We're
businesses.
just saying that small businesses do not rack in as much profit as the corporations, so that's why they are not able to, take that hit from the tariff. But these corporations, with all the profit that they're getting, because buying in bulk, they get the win.
Yeah.
They're just too greedy.
Yeah. And by proxy, because of small businesses in particular as well cannot foot that bill, they have to, by proxy, send it down to us consumers.
Exactly.
So we've gotten pretty much the basics of tariffs, in place there.
Which that makes tariffs already something honestly rather ineffectual and just fucking useless because they present tariffs as something that is supposed to punish the top when it inevitably goes down to the bottom, no matter what.
Yeah, and I would say we can especially see this on the side of the Trump administration, which I don't even think Trump in particular views it in that light. I think that Trump, for some reason, because Trump isn't actually, minded in political science, because he's barely even a businessman.
He's a very successful businessman.
He's barely even brain functional.
Oh, that too, but also in terms of the businessman, this man filed for bankruptcy. What was it, 3 times? This is these are things that happen. So when you translate this to the presidency, it's when you get Trump thinking that tariffs aren't a tax on imported goods, but a tax on exported goods. I feel like that's how he's seeing this. And that's why he's levying such high tariffs on some of our closest allies, Mexico, Canada, soon to be the EU, China. It's seeming more and more like anybody but Russia, quite frankly. But yeah.
He's what we in the profession call a dumbass.
Through and through, yes.
Fact check me on this, but Russia, if anything, they have cheap gas. Cheap gas.
Yeah.
Until the whole Ukraine shit went down, we were actually getting some bunch of gas from Russia for very cheap. And also, good time to come in with Saudi Arabia. We've been having some good talks with them as well.
Yeah. So with Russia in particular, just to get some context, they used to be one of our biggest importers of gas, I believe, or petroleum oil at the very least, up until 2022, which is of course when the Russia-Ukraine war started. Um, we banned all Russian imports of gas though under Biden. That and just general corporate greed is another big reason as to why gas prices really spiked under Biden. And it's especially why we're going to see it spike under Trump, too, because, I mean, not only are the imports of gas still banned under Trump from Russia, but we're also, tariffing gas and oil from Mexico and Canada, and soon to be the EU, which there are a lot of countries in the European Union that, of course, are very rich in gas and these natural resources. And, of course, as Jaren said, Saudi Arabia, one of the richest nations across the entire globe that's rich in crude oil.
As big as Russia is, they're not as powerful as they seem or want to seem because they are a poorly run country. It's been a dictatorship since 1993.
Yeah.
And it has not been run well. It's been run by someone who has himself prioritized. And when you run a country prioritizing yourself, you prioritize yourself. You give yourself the power and the safety that your country should have. And Russia's just kind of just in a lot of regards.
Yeah, me and Jaren were talking about this before the episode started, like earlier today. Just in general about how like Russia is, it's sort of labeled nowadays as, communist, and like, oh, is it the Republicans supposed to be anti-commie? Of course, guys, Russia is not communist. It's pretty damn capitalist, actually. It's privatized nearly every industry to hell. We could probably get into its own episode, talking about how, like, there are a lot of people in Russia that wish the Soviet Union was back. There are, like, crazy polls that show those numbers. Putin says that he's gonna, bring Russia back to its former glory. He's not.
How long has he been president of that fucking place?
For a good 20 to 25 years now. Putin's not gonna do anything. But besides that, we got to get back on track to, of course, the trade war and tariffs.
I wanted to say real quick, my only quick comment. I can see Russia legitimately representing simply a later stage of our capitalism, because, or maybe we're at the same place, to be honest, because we're both pretty damn dysfunctional.
I wouldn't say we're at the same place yet.
It's very possible.
But it's very possible. Like, I have been saying for a good 2 to 3 years now that the United States is reaching an inflection point of some kind. Like, in terms of the Civil War, there's 9/11, just a bunch of events that really, then absolutely reposition the United States on a world scale and sort of just in general of its own systems and hierarchy within itself. I think that we're going to see a 9/11 style event, Civil War style, that really makes the United States look into itself and try and, reorganize its own priorities. Because, especially with the Trump administration and sort of just that in general being probably the biggest threat to American democracy we've seen yet, and sort of the powers of the executive branch be pushed as far as we've ever seen them, even more than under George W. Bush.
Yep, wiping out almost all the checks and balances in place.
Yeah. So I really think we're going to see sort of a inflection point of that sort. But, yeah. Of course, we gotta stay on track with the trade war.
Back to the trade war. Back to tariffs. Well,
Same difference.
Same difference, more or less. But yeah. So we have seen retaliatory tariffs be threatened and now put in place pretty much by Mexico and Canada.
Yeah, I could touch on Canada real quick. They did cut off all U.S. alcohol sales.
Yeah.
Which is a really big hit, huge hit.
Especially to especially where I come from. I come from Eastern Kentucky, of course, really poor, financially disenfranchised over there. Grayson, me and you have talked about this at limits before. Sort of just in general how like the free market, I guess you can say, has completely like bastardized nearly the entire Appalachian region with like buying into opioids, drugs, alcohol, everything of the sort. So
they just ran through like all of Appalachia.
Ran through all of Appalachia. So now alcohol is going to be even more expensive. So people that are typically, drinking alcohol because, they're addicted to it, because alcohol is a poison, it's addictive and whatnot. Now these corporations are going to get even more money. Even more power. Even more power and control, too. That's why I've always said that, like, because there's a lot of liquor stores, there's a lot of gas stations that like highly promote liquor, weed, everything of the sort on its like front on its like front posters and everything. I think it's very malicious. I think it's very malicious, and I feel like that is indeed intended. I think that is intentional.
Yeah, I will say, like, there are towns that you could drive through. It's just gas station and liquor, obviously, because they also have the liquor. Gas station, liquor store, gas station, liquor store. I remember going through one of these towns. I can't even remember where it was. It was in the middle of nowhere, by the way. There wasn't even a gas station in sight. It was almost like they were just using the liquor for gas because of how many stores there were. It was crazy. Like, you couldn't avoid it. It was at every turn.
It's like... shit like this makes me think of all these bullshit maneuvers that Trump and his lackeys are pulling, and shit that even like the Democrats and like people, honestly, anybody that has been in charge of our country, that is like all these tactics they try time and time again, whether they're well meant or not, are like the most ineffectual bullshit, because they have a target, right? Picture a target in front of you. That target is corporations. It's obvious. The corporations, they know the system very well, and they play it every day very well. You give them a tax, they'll put it down on the consumer. They're fine. You do any sort of restriction whatsoever, and they will find a loophole, or they will squirm into some different area of the fallout and let that fallout hit the people below. And that's how they gain fucking control. And they're getting more control every day. Yeah. And you see the target that is clearly doing all this shit. And all those laws they're passing that they're either thinking are going to do something or passing to act like they're doing something even though they're too much of a pussy to fucking do anything. Or if they're just outright just giving the corporations a direct hand job just so they can get a piece of it. Either way, the target's right here, and each arrow is taking a goddamn U-turn every time it gets and nothing hits the fucking target. And that's why we're owned by places like fucking BlackRock.
Yeah. I will say, you did touch on the Democrats.
No one does a goddamn thing.
Yes, exactly. And we're going to touch on that later whenever we get to the State of the Union, because I have a lot of things to say about that.
Because these aren't, like, unironically, like, I know I'm kind of ranting here, but, like, at the end of the day, as big and scary as these suckers and their ivory towers are, they're just fucking mortals at the end of the day, all right? Like, their bones crack and their fucking heads squish, like, the same way ours do. Yeah. And all we have to do is stop bullshitting around and take control for ourselves. But no!
I've been saying that capital is power, but yeah, you were going to say something there, James?
Yeah. Sorry.
The tariffs do help me realize, like, I did not think about this beforehand, but, like, stuff like the alcohol sales and everything, just these corporations being able to dodge that bullet and it going straight to the person who, either way, if they're in an addiction, they're going to get it. Yeah. So it's just going to fuck them over that much more. Yeah. It's really crappy to think about. Did you want to touch on the pharmaceutical, or were you going to say something else? I was going to get to that here in a second. I was also going to talk about tobacco. Tobacco is also in that vein of alcohol.
That's one of our primary goddamn exports. We've got that and liquor. We used to have coal, but We kind of used it all, didn't we?
Well, we're like, they used it all. They sucked us dry.
Yeah, pretty much coal camps and everything of the sort. But yeah, pharmaceuticals. So these tariffs are going to heavily affect pharmaceutical equipment.
We're fucked.
And pharmaceutical, like medicine just in general, like insulin, syringes, everything of the sort you can think of.
And that's like diabetics, once again, just getting, kicked in the ribs.
Also, to make another point, these insurance companies are not any different. If you think that they're, covering you shit now, and when this stuff rises, it's still going to be the same percentage that they're going to cover. It doesn't matter what that solid, amount of money that you have to pay at the end of the day is.
Yeah. And I want you guys to think about who's going to be affected by this the most. It's poor people in Appalachia, especially Appalachia.
This kind of just further proves my point that no one is going to help us except us.
Yes.
We have to.
And also in other very poor and impoverished areas, I don't have too much info on this, but I do know they were shutting down these clinics that were these people relied on really badly. Yeah. They were funded through federal dollars and such, and those have been shut down.
So now my family and sort of my community in general is going to be paying even more for insulin and just general medicine and pharmaceutical equipment. So it's just even more money that's coming out of our pockets because of an completely unnecessary, arbitrary, and dubious tariff plan on the part of the Trump administration. So overall, this is just a big pharma's dick suck. That's all this is, really. It's Donald Trump on his knees right now. I don't even think he knows he's on his knees, sucking the cock of big pharmaceuticals. Another big group that's going to be affected by these tariffs is going to be farmers. Nobody thinks this. I've been saying this. Nobody's been listening to me in terms of my family and whatnot. Farmers are going to be affected heavily by this, which is very ironic because Trump always claimed himself to be the man who loves farmers and is going to represent farmers. No, that's false. That's a lie.
Farmers are dirt to him.
Farmers are dirt to him, which is very saying something because in terms of dirt, as in soil and fertilizer, farmers are not going to be able to afford that anymore. We import a lot of fertilizer from Canada in particular, and in general fruits and vegetables, seeds, and everything of the sort from Mexico, which Trump just recently, or I think it was during the State of the Union address, said that that a lot of these fruits and vegetables and whatnot and that we're importing from Mexico are dirty, whatever the fuck that means. I mean, we have the FDA for a reason.
Yeah, that's just that's kind of just some Hitler bullshit right there. I'm sorry, that just sounds like some shit Hitler.
I can't tell if Trump is being racist here or being stupid. That's the world we live in,
I think he's just kind of all of it. Name an ism that is one of the bad isms in this world, and he's it. He's going for the bingo card here.
Yeah, he is going through the bingo card. But livestock too. That's another big thing. With Mexico in particular, I know we trade livestock and whatnot. Apologies, it would seem like you're about to say something there.
I was going to say, and this is sort of getting into, something I realized, reading the article you gave us, about Canada in particular. He keeps putting these tariffs down, acting like they're going to do something and make something happen, and then, Canada, has very much said it themselves, it is going to be a bit rough for them, too.
Yeah.
They're going to have to, reallocate their resources to make sure their people make it, but they're gonna do that. They're actually gonna help their people, and they're just gonna cut us off. That's we're trying to be Mr. Big Man in this situation, and Canada is pretty much just fuck you.
Well, I mean,
they're cutting off power to the North Coast.
Yeah, exactly. The premier of Ontario. So in Canada, they have premiers. Pretty much just governors. That's all they are. But he's the premier of Ontario and has literally said that he is going to cut off all electricity to like cities such as New York, Milwaukee, Detroit, and that's just fucking crazy. Because what was the statistic I saw? Like 80% of the electricity in those cities comes from Ontario.
Yeah, they rely heavy on like the stuff from over the border.
I'd like to see people over there. Like I'm sure. Like, well, I can't remember. Like how much of those cities voted for Trump. Like, were those still, like, relatively blue cities?
Well, they are. There's a good amount of people swinging right now.
Yeah.
Not physically. Not physically.
But I will say, in Milwaukee, Detroit, and New York, they're urban areas, so they're very liberal.
Yeah.
By proxy.
Well, I was just gonna say, I'd like to see any stragglers over there, like, try to continue to, like, support Trump when his actions are actively fucking taking their power away.
You see, this is what I've been saying. I've been saying that our biggest allies right now, you and me, our biggest allies right now are the working class people of Canada and Mexico. People that are, like, seeing this shit and feeling the blunt of it themselves. I would say we have a lot more in common with those people right now than we ever will with the people that we have in power.
Mm-hmm.
It's working class solidarity for a reason. That's why I like heavily emphasize with the Canadian people right now, as long as Mexican people. These tariffs are going to heavily hit them too. Canada in particular. Like Trump has been like on like almost like an anger sex sort of like passionate hatred for like Canada. Like bro's just wanting to fuck them over in more ways than one. It's just terrible. So going on to China. China's heavily hit now too. What was it like? I believe China also said that they're putting like, I think it was like 90% to 100% tariffs on Canada as well for some reason.
Damn.
Which, yeah, on Canada. Oh. So that's why I'm saying that Canada is fucked.
God damn it! Like Canada didn't even do anything.
Canada didn't even do anything.
They can't catch a break, bro.
They can't catch a break.
Friendly fire.
Fuck's sake.
Actually, no, not friendly fire, because China's kind of like sided with Russia.
Damn it, we're not. We're like. We're gonna make Canada not nice anymore. We need to stop this bullshit.
That's why, like, I'm really hoping that during the next Canadian general election that we get Justin Trudeau just out of there. I know it wouldn't do anything to really like actually better relations between us right now, but I just like in general hate Justin Trudeau, liberal like. Anti-environmentalist, Zionist cocksucker, did blackface, everything of the sort. Yep. So like, despite what you guys see of like the videos of him, like, talking about solidarity amongst the working class people of Canada right now, just remember that Justin Trudeau is a terrible person through and through, and that you should not really be so adamant about like him and like so nationalist and patriotic, I guess, in that regard.
People really liked him a while back too, which is what's funny to me, because like I remember thinking like he was chill, and then like the blackface came out, and then like it's all been downhill from there. It's weird. It's sort of like this is insane to think about, but like 5-6 years ago, I even thought Elon Musk was cool, and then like I found out almost.
I thought he was okay, like until he just kind of started.
And then now he's a Nazi, and I'm just like, bro. Like it was just downhill almost immediately with him.
Luckily, I was able to see through Elon Musk fairly quickly because I mean, it was in terms of the EVs thing. Uh-huh. Like I'm in support of EVs. I just think they're a band-aid fix to like a general transportation issue we have in the United States. But that's another topic. I want to get back on to China, of course.
Remind me to talk about diamond batteries with you outside of this at some point.
Certainly. But yeah, China. That goes on to that diamond batteries, I guess, sort of translates to the concept of vehicles and cars.
Good transition.
Because China in particular, we get a lot of cars from them, just as we do in Canada as well. So not only are we going to see the cost of gas skyrocket, we're going to see the price of cars altogether skyrocket.
Yeah, because those are coming from China and Canada as well.
Yeah, like the steel and aluminum tariffs in particular.
Yeah, if you thought like buying a house was a bitch, like get ready.
Well, get ready even more for houses because what was it? I think it was like 25%. It was either 10% or 25% tariffs on the lumber.
Yeah.
People haven't been talking about the lumber tariffs, but those are going to hit us just as hard. Like it's very depressing to say, but I don't foresee me being able to buy a house anytime during my life.
Unironically, like I'm convinced I'm going to end up taking shit back to like the 20s and like building my own goddamn house.
Well, even then, that's going to cost you a pretty penny.
That's going to cost me
exactly.
a pretty penny. I may have.
You know who's able to buy us out in that way? Corporations, the ones who will be renting to us.
Yep.
And be greedy enough to raise the rent even more. Because at the end of the day, the main people who are suffering is us, obviously. But for houses, it's still us. I mean, like, if we can't buy the materials ourselves, these big corporations will, and they'll build it themselves.
What if people just started emigrating en masse, like, away from the United States because, like, they've had enough of this shit? Like, unironically, like, I do talk to a lot of people about the concept of moving to another country.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I hate that. Like,
really?
I hate that argument. Like, by all means, move away. I've been thinking about it myself, but like, I feel like this idea that like, oh, what if everybody just moves? Well, that's unrealistic. Not everybody's going to move. People are too poor to move.
Not everyone can move.
So like, I feel like that's just like a very like idealistic way to look at it. Like, I think that we should really not be trying to create a mass exodus of people, which all the same is impossible. But like, instead of trying to hone in on that, we just generally try and better the material conditions of us. You know, like housing, for example, that's probably a topic unto its own. But we have more houses than we do homeless people in all states of America.
Yeah.
So like we could easily fix the housing crisis if we wanted to. We just don't want to. Why? It's corporate greed. I mean, that's all.
It all goes back.
It's not just corporate greed. There are some blue voters who will, like, I kid you not, some very wealthy blue voters who will gladly see a bill coming along and be like, what? You want poor people living near me?
Gavin Newsom.
In California?
Yeah, California.
Yes, dude, I saw so many things about that. Like they literally had these plans to like build these not suburbs, but you know, housing for homeless people, and then it just got shot down hella quick because I don't know, you just don't want those kind of people living there.
I remember, I can't remember if it was last year or the year before. Gavin Newsom illegalized being homeless, which pretty much by proxy of that, you can take them to homeless camps. Homeless camps in particular don't have the best living conditions or general like care for the people, so it's very unethical. If you were to consider it a concentration camp, I wouldn't argue against you.
Yeah, I was going to say, there's been a couple times when we've, like, decided to take certain demographics and put them into camps where they just sort of, like, stay under our control. Like,
that is just so shitty because it's like you would rather see this person go to this god-awful place and be hidden away from the view of, oh my god, normal people, than them just, like, function next to us in society. It's really shitty.
I'm gonna be so real. Like, this is something I try to get at with like the homeless conversation a lot as well. People argue that they don't want to live near them. They don't want to see them. They don't want them in their town. They don't want there to be homeless people generally. And like, there is this end point of the argument that like these people always try to avoid. Because it's something, it is a sort of conclusion that they don't want to admit that they want to reach. Yeah. These people just want to kill homeless people.
I'm really excited to really delve into homelessness in like in a separate podcast episode too, because with homeless people don't understand that they're like all homeless people aren't the same. Like couch surfing in particular, like I would say that's like perhaps like the like the first circle almost of homelessness. But again, we're getting sidetracked, of course. Computers. A lot of computers, microchips, everything of the sort we do import from China.
Yeah.
So
going straight into cars, quite literally anything.
Yeah.
Anything you think of.
So if you're a computer science major, or like an ETAD major, or anything of the sort, you're fucked. Sorry, man. I'm just being straight with you. I mean, here's hoping that next year the Democrats overperform in the House. It's not seeming like that's going to happen, but one can hope, of course. But yeah.
And then there's miscellaneous toys, cotton clothing.
Yeah, cotton clothing.
Oh yeah, for all those Temu folks out there, if you didn't think that you were affected by these tariffs, you definitely are now.
You definitely are now.
Trust me.
The entire Temu thing, go at it, man. But I don't understand why people I don't understand why the government is considering TikTok to be such a Chinese cyber threat when Temu is the sketchiest application I have ever downloaded on my phone.
Okay, yes. Basically, on both platforms, data's being stolen and such. But on Temu, people's card shit, their literal cards have been charged and shit. Yeah. That's way worse than TikTok. You see, at least TikTok is not doing that.
You see, with TikTok, with TikTok, my information is going to the Chinese government. And at the end of the day, why should I care about what's the Chinese government going to do with my information? Is Xi Jinping going to kick into my house or my dorm and kidnap me? No, that's unrealistic. I mean, whereas with Temu, cyber hackers are stealing your data literally every 5 fucking seconds because it's a very unsecure application.
Oh yeah. And by the way, it also looks like shit. I don't care about anyone who was like, "Oh my, but I love the games." No, that app looks like shit.
Yeah, it's
I'm getting sidetracked, but that app literally does look like shit.
It looks like shit. All of the products too are so cheaply made.
Yes.
And also when Temu did first come out, I remember a bunch of news stories coming out about people literally getting allergic reactions and shit from the Temu packaging. These people were it had something on it that some kind of chemical shit that was really messing with people.
Oh, have y'all ever seen a Temu ad, the actual Temu commercials?
Well, you see, this is the thing. I'm pretty sure my personal email probably is exchanged with so many fucking hackers at this point because I'm still getting random sketchy ass Temu emails to this day. In the same vein that I'm still getting Temu texts from all of my aunts and uncles to this.
My dad buys shit off of Temu just to buy shit off of Temu. It is the saddest shit
I would say
ever.
In terms of the scale of gambling, Temu is just before getting a scratch off. It's somewhat functional gambling because these people can justify it by saying, "Oh, I'm getting stuff for a deal and stuff like that." No, it's gonna be shit anyways.
Yeah, so I watched the State of the Union. I know you two guys didn't. I saved you the worst.
Props to Chris for sacrificing their ears to the bullshit that was, going right in.
Yeah, I saw you that night and you were in a damn mood.
Yeah, I watched it during work. When I got off, I was just the bitchiest, moodiest person ever. Because I was just in rage. I will start off. I'm going to go ahead and start off on a light point. Al Green, you are a legend. I love you, Al Green. Al Green is the representative from Texas, I believe from Houston. I'm not for sure. The Houston area. I might not be, but regardless, he's a representative there. He stood up during the State of the Union address when it was beginning. When Trump always talks about having a mandate. Whatever that means, it's Trump shit. You never really know. So Al Green stood up while every other Democrat was sitting down and said, "You have no mandate to cut Medicaid." And you know what? You know what every single establishment Democrat is doing right now? They're talking shit on Al Green. When I've been talking to some of my apolitical friends and family, and they are thinking that what Al Green did was absolutely admirable. I'm going to go ahead and say this. Al Green will be remembered lightly for this. I don't understand. It doesn't matter what liberal like establishment Fed will tell you. Al Green did a good thing there. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I'm gonna go and start off on that. I was really pleased when that first happened, and I actually did really like the Democrat strategy at first, because they were like shouting, yelling no, everything of the sort. Because this is the thing, all right? This is what I mean with like civility politics and respectability politics and everything of the sort. Your representatives, of course, have an expectation to act professional. But in my opinion, your representatives do not have an expectation to act professional when the person that is in front of you delivering the State of the Union address is talking about transgender mice, talking about Social Security, like people, dead people earning Social Security, and some of just the dubious lies I have ever heard. Like, this is like even worse than than they're eating the cats thing. Like, it's just so dumb in my opinion.
Yeah, it's pretty damn bad. I will say, like, he can do whatever he wants at his rallies. All right.
Yeah.
But when he brings that in to any part of Congress, cut that shit out.
Yeah.
He should be called out for that. And okay, I have a good question for you. In an ideal scenario, what would you want the Democratic side to do in that instance?
So this is what I was thinking when I was watching it, because Al Green stood up, of course. This was right after they were all shouting and yelling no, false lies, everything of the sort. What I would have loved to do, and what I think would have been an amazing strategy, is to go one by one through most of the Democratic caucus, standing up and shouting no individually. One by one. I think that would have been an amazing form of protest.
That would have been great to see. What specifically, go into detail about Al Green.
So he's like a progressive, he's actually received $0 from AIPAC. He's very pro-Palestine, very anti-Zionist, everything of the sort. We love Al Green here, or at least I do.
Fucking based.
Very based. So yeah, huge shout out to Al Green. But let's go into some of these lies.
Oh my god!
I have
why?
I have many listed here.
Yeah, I'm looking at the topics list right now just to give context for you guys. Like, it's like at least 20 bullets of this bullshit.
20 bullets of bullshit. Let's start off with the big lie. So in 2020, there was the big lie of in-person mail-in voting being election fraud. That was the first big.
That's bullshit.
Bullshit. Then the second big lie was that the election was stolen.
Bullshit.
Also bullshit. The next big lie, currently, it's that dead people are collecting Social Security.
Bullshit.
That is the new big lie. Okay? That's what they're saying. They're saying that people 150 years old are collecting Social Security. These are all lies. Now, let's talk about this, because the Social Security Administration, and the way they, of course, they have a system, they have like codes, everything of the sort. People are in the system for 150 years long, but still, they're cutting off like funding to those people whenever they die. I mean, that's just, it's literally just a lie. I don't know where he's getting that information, quite frankly. I feel like he's just making it up.
At this point, I just like to think of Trump as like hold on. Two things. The cricket inside of Pinocchio, bro. Like, that is Trump, okay? And it's also like, I don't know if anyone's ever watched A Corpse Bride, but that little worm that keeps popping out of her eye. No?
I'm not.
Anyways, yeah. Long story short, yeah, Trump is just like, he's just feeding himself lies at this point. I don't even know.
Yes,
I feel like low-key sometimes it sounds like he is outsourcing his basic mental processes to AI. Like,
you see, in my opinion, this lie of dead people collecting Social Security, I think it's literally just like, I literally think it's just for the sake of cutting Social Security.
Yes.
I think it's just a lie just to do that.
He just wants.
Yeah.
He just hates poor people and old people.
At this point, he doesn't care if the information is true or not, because he knows that there are people that he's been taking advantage of in terms of informational basis, and he just wants to throw something out there and then be like, well, this is why. That's why we're cutting it.
That's all he does. All he does is take advantage of people.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, on to a similar program, Medicaid. Trump did not say a single thing about Medicaid during the State of the Union address, and I wonder why. Do you guys think of why Trump wouldn't want to speak about Medicaid?
He doesn't want to pay mind to. I mean, he doesn't want to pay mind to it just because it's been getting cut.
Exactly, because he wouldn't want to reveal that he's cutting it.
Exactly.
I mean, that's literally it.
Yeah.
And again, I benefit from Medicaid. I'm sure you two do as well. Our sound man, Henry, I'm sure he does as well. I'm sure all of us benefit from Medicaid. My family does. It is literally just insane to want to ignore Medicaid and neglect it just for the sake of, scoring political points by, using cancer patients as like political props. That's something I'll talk about in a minute here. That was sickening to see. But
I want to hear about.
Yeah, I hated that shit so much. But like, again, this is just completely f***ing over the voter base that voted for Donald Trump. It's f***ing over my family, my community, Appalachia in general.
And I will say, like, he has his excuses for like some stuff, like trying to justify it and such like that. But when it's something like Medicaid, you can't even with Donald Trump and his crazy fan base, like, it's just, you can't justify that, and he knows that, and him not sharing that is just oh my god, I'm trying to think of this. Him not sharing that it's in the same effort of trying to get all these news networks to just not even share that. And it's crazy because everything that we're receiving, it's just it's being put through a tunnel just to distract us from it.
Yes, Donald Trump currently is like harming Social Security and Medicaid more than Ronald Reagan was able to. Ronald Reagan, who I despise through and through. I'll talk about Ronald Reagan a little bit more here when we get to the Democrats. But like, even Ronald Reagan wasn't able to cut Social Security and Medicaid as much as it's seeming that Trump is about to. So like, this is just complete unprecedented surge of power in the president that we're seeing.
Fuck you, Ronald Reagan.
Fuck you, Ronald Reagan. But another big lie that Trump was making was the idea of him removing the EV mandate that the Biden administration put in power. Guys, can you point me towards this EV mandate? You can't because it's not true. There was never an EV mandate. The closest thing was like in California, I think, where like they like stopped the production of like regular automotive vehicles. But like even then, I'm pretty sure that was rescinded. I don't even think that truly happened. Like these are just lies that he's like splurging here, like just to score political points. Because he knows that a lot of people that are his voter base have like regular gas automotive cars. There's literally no basis to that claim. In the same way that there is no basis to literally anything he said about illegal immigrants during that speech. Like he even talked about Springfield, Ohio again. Like, I would imagine that after his performance in the debates last year, where he said that the cats and dogs were were being eaten by the immigrants, that he would change up his rhetoric around it. But no, he's dialing down even more. And using like the Lake and Riley sort of situation to basically like almost coerce his voter base into feeling like they have to hate immigrants. Which is just sickening, sort of in the same same sense of the cancer patient. Might as well go ahead and talk about that. That was the most sickening part of the speech, in my opinion.
Yeah, if you want to care to elaborate about that real quick.
We didn't watch it. So there was a cancer patient. He was 13 years old. He was brought. Basically, like, Trump was sort of just dancing around the sort of, like, entire, like, Democratic wing and using this a 13-year-old cancer patient, cancer survivor, just to, like, try and, like, paint the Democrats in a bad light because they were trying to, do, like, a silent sit-in sort of protest.
Wait a minute. So, like, there was a cancer patient at the place.
Yes, in the gallery.
And they were there at, like, were they protesting Trump themselves?
No. Donald Trump had them in the gallery as a guest, talking about, cancer research and whatnot, and cancer being, like, terrible, wanting to end cancer. What is being done to cancer research right now, guys?
Yeah, it's being cut.
It's being cut.
It's being cut, dude.
It's being f***ing cut. By Doge, by Trump, by the entire administration.
Yes, I do want to talk about this. Oh my god, dude. Cutting cancer research. And then I see shit about even more pointless funds going into research for the cause of vaccines on autism. That is such bullshit, dude. And it's really pissing me off because, okay, even if that was happening, even if it was, I don't even like to pay mind to that, but even if that was like 1% possible, there are people dying. Like, why would you not prioritize that first over this other bullshit?
It just makes me mad because, like, say what you want about the COVID vaccine. Even then, the COVID vaccine has been tried and trialed many times over. It doesn't cause blood clots or anything of that, like any of that bullshit. Like, but going on to the measles vaccine, the MMR vaccine, it doesn't cause autism. The study that they're pointing at that showed that was literally wrong. It made extreme leaps and bounds in science and literally was theorizing that it might have autism without giving any actual statistics. Very biased, very skewed data. And literally every single scientist has like refuted that paper to this day. Why it's being pushed to this day? It's because of, like, the anti-vaccine movement that spawned out of that and that is currently being pushed by Donald Trump inherently and Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah, I guarantee you, when they found that study, when whoever first pulled that study out of whatever the fuck the pit was that it was laying in, I'm sure they just searched up a keyword. They were like, yes, we got one. This will really get them this time.
This will really get the libs. I just hate it.
That whole bullshit about the autism and the vaccine. Like, autism is very common. Incredibly common. You talk to, like, a good deal of people on our campus. Like, I have autism. You are probably autistic to a certain point, Chris. Not you, Jaren. But what I'm trying to say is that as someone with autism who knows other people with autism, we are normal fucking people that are capable of operating in society. And that alone, the fact that, like, they hear autism and associate it with vaccines and act like it's the plague of the fucking earth just pisses me off in and of itself. It's ableist, it's eugenicist, honestly, in my opinion. And then the fact that if you really want to look at shit that's causing autism, don't look at the vaccines and shit that are actually keeping us healthy. They're pointing at the vaccines because they don't want us to look at the poison they're putting in our foods. Yep. You want to talk about, like, birth defects. You want to talk about, like, our poison being our children being poisoned in utero. Look at the fucking Lunchables that have, 40% lead limits. Like, that's not like that is 40% of lead that can be in that product that is meant to be consumptible.
More noticeably, I would say to like check out like water. I mean, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has constantly been saying that he's going to take fluoride out of the water.
He's already started fucking with the Clean Water Act. I talked about this with you a little bit before, Chris, but like, oh my God. Basically raising restrictions of human waste in water and like filtering that shit out.
Yeah, the Supreme Court did that earlier this week too.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Shit water.
Why do you guys want us to drink shit water? Please explain to me, dude.
It's for the free market. It's for the invisible hand.
You cannot give me a logical argument.
It all goes back to those grubby little cocksuckers at the top.
Jaren, I should have the freedom.
To drink my shit.
No. I should have the freedom to supply citizens with shit water. My business deserves that right and responsibility.
Because you need, that, like, one more goddamn penny.
That's my freedom.
We're just slowly, going down into Flint, Michigan.
I think
the entirety of the U.S. is about to go down to Flint, Michigan.
I think we're going even worse in Flint.
And they're trying to, this is, like...
I've been to Flint.
Everything from, like, it's just like with the fucking vaccines. They're trying to make us weaker. They're trying to make it harder for us to fucking think. Yeah. You can't think right when you're hungry, when you're drinking poison, when you're not getting the right fucking vaccines that are going to keep you alive.
Hold on. I do want to say, if the water does not have as many restrictions on it, right? Where are we getting our water? From the suppliers. And guess what they were putting in their water? God knows what, because the restrictions could easily be lifted. So we're going from one shitty water source right to whatever they could be putting in there.
So this stupid piece of shit has the gall to bring in a young cancer survivor, manipulate him, use a 13-year-old cancer survivor for a fucking talking point.
Yeah.
So he can take he's basically using this kid as a bargaining chip so he can kill other fucking kids. Yeah. That is basically what he is fucking doing. And like, Trump has a history around cancer patients, actually. This goes back a while. You reminded me of one of the biggest reasons I'm not going to say that on air, but you know what I'm thinking about Donald Trump? You know what I'm thinking? Years ago, you probably remember this, Chris. Donald Trump, Eric Trump, his son, actually tried to do something nice for once. Now, I don't know what all, I'm sure this probably had plenty of fucking tax benefits and various circle jerks attached to it, but at least on paper it looked nice. He was hosting an event at their golf course to raise money for cancer patients. And then Donald Trump actually stepped in and told him no. In fact, not only did he tell him no, but he said if that event that wanted to raise money for cancer patients wanted to use their golf course, they would have had to rent it out for, like, I think it was like $1 trillion. Like, it was something absolutely ridiculous and unrealistic. Mind you, these are people that are actually trying to raise money for cancer patients, for child cancer patients. And he said, no, let's actually just put them in fucking debt. Yeah. And I don't know. I remembered, like, hearing about that. It's been a while, so, like, I want to put a disclaimer out. Like, I could be missing a fact or two. It has been years since I've thought about this, but I just remembered learning about it a while back. And it really, that, like, out of, like, many fucked up things this man has done, that's definitely one of the things that has shaped like the way I think about him. I absolutely despise this man, as really any decent human being should. Like, fuck this guy.
Well, thank you for educating me on it all the same. It sort of just reminds me of what you said in regards to, like, Donald Trump using this kid as a way to sort of shadow his inherent positioning in being a part of the murder of other kids. Mm-hmm. Israel and Palestine, of course. More importantly, as we talked about a couple episodes ago, Guantanamo Bay. ICE agents going to churches and schools of that sort.
They always go for the kids. Yeah. It honestly reminds me of they used to do this thing in Nazi Germany at the camps where they would actually have some of the kids there help them shovel people in the furnaces. And they threatened, like, they had no choice because they threatened to kill those kids if they told their brothers and sisters about it. And it's same fucking energy, in my opinion. Like, unforgivable.
Yeah, basically, all in all, I really hate that he's using a child as a political toy, almost. Shout out to that 13-year-old child. You are very strong. You're a very strong person.
You're a very strong person. I'm sorry you were used.
I'm sorry you were used, indeed. But going on to what I have labeled in my notes as a transphobic nonsense 222 electric boogaloo.
Oh boy!
Because this is like the 222nd time he said this shit. Transgender women dominating in sports. He also used children as a political tool in that regard too, having high schoolers who lost to transgender athletes sit in the gallery and be applauded and whatnot by the audience.
What the fuck?
It just pisses me off because this is what they say. They say that this is happening, that transgender women are like absolutely running the fucking course and shit. Okay. If transgender women are like this dominant in the athletic field, then what's the point in banning them from joining the military? Aren't they like these like athletic fucking like pieces of fucking human like carnage or something? What the fuck? Like very contradictory in my opinion.
Can we get a statistic real quick of what percent of athletes are transgender? Like, it is the small, like, I don't even think it's 1%.
Yes. This is what I've been saying for the past, like, 2 weeks now that I've came to the realization of. The Republican Party has become the party of confirmation bias. Mm-hmm. They see the slightest, like, outlier to, like, outlier or deviation in, like, any, like, study or just, like, general, like, anecdotal, like, experience. And they're like, oh, this is representative of everything else in this entire field because it supports my side.
Exactly.
Liberals are implicit in this, too. But, like, in this sense, Republicans are heavily doing this.
Yeah, and, like, okay, there's a difference between looking at the sources and getting building your opinions up from there, right? Building your stance on things from there. Completely different from someone who quite literally, like, they could have multiple stances going into something and they will not pay any peace of mind to sources or anything of the such until something confirms it. Just to break it down.
Also, it's fucking sports. Who cares? Like, I'm so tired of, like, unless people are getting hurt in sports or people are being genuinely taken advantage of in that what is ostensibly an entertainment industry, politicians shouldn't be getting involved. It's sports.
Like, American football is literally a game about tackling people.
Exactly.
But regardless, onto like the the argument of like, oh, they have more testosterone levels or whatnot. Okay.
That's bullshit.
That's bullshit, of course. But regardless, I know so many transgender women. No offense to them, but they are not good at sports.
Yeah.
They weren't... Okay. I won't generalize something, but most of them weren't good before they transitioned. So,
like, it's about like skill. Like transgender women, they of course transition, but like they still like practice their sport and their hobby. I mean, practice makes perfect, does it not? Do you not agree with this sort of idea?
You could honestly rip this whole topic wide open and like cut to a much deeper conversation on, because like I hear that and like this kind of takes me back to another idea that the extreme right are always trying to perpetuate, and that's to like further the idea that women and biological women and biological men are like different. They want to categorize people. They want to make people as different as possible. The more different, the more other, the more wrong they can paint somebody as, the better, because that's less people to share in their power and their efficacy, and that's more power for them.
Yeah. And I just want to make it clear, I wasn't generalizing transgender women in particular. I was just like trying to get across that like they're not athletic people, just in the same way that I'm not an athletic person, and like presumably you and Jaren here aren't. Like we're just people that have hobbies.
Also, there's another thing that goes into this. Like for the trans people that are in sports, people act like this, and this is a really stupid idea that like is being perpetuated here more than anything. The idea that like men who transition into women get out on the field and there's just these fucking hulking juggernauts, when that's not true at all. When you start taking estrogen, you're like, it does things to you, like especially if you take estrogen at a younger age, like when you're like in like about our age, early 20s. Your body's still like your body's still developing technically, which means those hormones, the redistribution of those hormones, that's going to change everything from your like muscle distribution, fat distribution, to even bone structure if you catch it early enough. So the idea that like a trans woman is like more physically adept than like a normal like stock built woman is just ridiculous, because they are taking something to specifically not be that. And you could say like, I mean, you could say the same thing about trans men, which aren't in this conversation at all. They always talk about trans women, and like they just don't even want trans men to exist. It's fucked up. Even trans women, a lot of trans women treat trans men like shit.
Yes, in my opinion, I think it's just like internalized misogyny against trans women, like just pure transphobia. And like neglect of trans men being a demographic that does exist, and that does exist within this community.
It's like, oh boy, it's like misandry sandwiched between several layers of like misogyny and like internalized homophobia, internalized transphobia, all perfectly coddled in generational male trauma and like toxic masculinity. It is so fucked up.
Sort of just like pisses me off especially too, because during the State of the Union, when like Trump was going on about all of this like transphobic nonsense, he called on Congress to pass a bill that would permanently ban sex changes for women, for children. I mean, I just find that to be terrifying, because again, this is Donald Trump, frequent liar, D1 dumbass, everything of the sort. How far is he talking here? I mean, like, I have issues with like trying to ban sex changes on children in general, but also like children in particular. Some of them need tea. Some of them need testosterone. Some of them need estrogen. One of my friends from high school and middle school, they ended up needing to take estrogen very regularly, and they were a cishet man. I mean, like, there's no way to go about this.
And it's not. That's right. It's not always about like a transition. Like, people also just have simple hormone imbalances. I mean, there are men like in their 40s that like have testosterone deficiencies, and they need it to function. Like, it's as simple as that.
He also used a quote during the State of the Union. He said that it is a lie that any child is trapped in the wrong body. You should be proud of how God made you. I know some of my own family that says that. In my opinion, that is just a sickening thing to say. Because that's just Christian nationalism through and through. Mm-hmm. Not everybody's Christian. You should accept that. And also, like, what happened to wanting children to be their true self? What happened to wanting children to grow up to be who they want to be?
Also, I have a question for clarification. So he was specifically targeting this at children and how they should be grateful for the body that they're in.
Yeah.
Why would it only matter when they're children?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't understand your question.
Like, okay, why should I only be grateful for the body that God has given me when I'm a child? Why not just be grateful my whole lifetime?
Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah, that's actually a really good way of looking at it. Like, it's so, like, it's sort of like the thing of, like, abortion. Like, conservatives are, like, so, militant about abortion before like the deliverance and of the baby. Like, after, like, they could care less about the baby. Like, he can go itself.
Yeah.
Like, exactly,
into the
dude.
foster system.
Exactly.
Like,
the foster system's never talked about.
The foster system never talked about, like, sitting in adoption for days, like, terrible parents, terrible financial circumstances. Like, it's just, like, they don't care. Perhaps the biggest lie that he, of course, made in terms of the transgender, in terms of the entire, like, war on transgender people. This was brought up to me by our good friend Alice. He's a trans good friend of ours. He actually made the cover art that you guys are probably seeing right now. But he actually talked to me about the transgender mice thing.
Oh my!
That was a big
God.
lie. That was pushed there, saying that $8 million were wasted on transgender mice research. Okay, not only is it's transgenic, either way you pronounce it, it's transgenic. Okay, and this research is actually very good. Like, even if we're going away from the entire it's woke transgenderism shit, like, this is like HIV research we're talking about here.
Yeah.
This is like a better understanding of fertility. This is like breast cancer outcomes we're talking about here. Are you wanting to fucking cut this shit?
Donald Trump can't fucking read, okay? We all know this, all right? Like, if you've seen his goddamn signature, like,
even after all that practice he put in with all those executive orders, still can't perfect it.
I'm not gonna make that joke.
So, like, I think I low-key think it's almost, like, intentional. Like, this sort of, like, switch from transgenic to transgender.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I feel like Donald Trump just genuinely doesn't care about HIV vaccine development, breast cancer outcomes, or better understanding, fertility, C-sections, everything of the sort. Like, postpartum pregnancy. I don't think he actually cares about that because he is a white rich man. That's how my friend Alice put it best.
I mean, the last thing he's going to care about is a woman. Like, he fucking rapes them all the time. Like, let's be real.
Yes. How many counts? It was like, I don't even know how many counts.
60 plus.
60,
70 plus, actually.
Like, if you can't, if there's so many counts of sexual assault on your president, that you can't even remember how many there are, that's pretty telling about, who you have in power, in my opinion.
I mean, even if you're like the piece of shit that's gonna try to be like, oh, well, they were paid, like, there's just so goddamn many of them.
They were paid off, you mean?
Yeah, they're paid off. Hush money, if you will. Stormy Daniels and whatnot.
Oh, yeah.
So another exemption he left out of the speech, in the same way that he didn't talk about Medicaid, he also didn't talk about climate change. Usually we hear him talking about climate change being a hoax, about how, windmills cause cancer and they kill the birds and shit.
It's so sad.
It's
you
so
can
sad.
see like little gravestones for the birds, and he literally said that shit. Like,
indeed he did. But yeah, he said that he wants to increase fossil fuel development. That is fucking crazy. Yeah. He wants to speed it up and like take it like tenfold. That is literally just like fucking near eco-terrorism. It's not, like, by definition, but like I wouldn't argue against you if you called it that. I mean, like,
it's
he also
eco-genocide, more like
eco-genocide. That's a good way to put it. He's also, like, as of been recent, talking about deforestation, talking about wanting to wipe out all the forests and all the trees. I don't know if you guys have been keeping up with this, but like, it's just fucking crazy. Our planet is fucking dying, and we have this shit going on.
So wait, he's not even like trying to just present it as like, oh, we're just gonna use our resources more. No, like, he is stating it as like his goal is to specifically remove forests.
Yes. Unironically.
What is the fucking upside of that argument? What is that gaining him?
What are we gonna do after that? Buy Canada? No, you're not.
Well,
bro.
Grayson, we can put so many Walmart, parking lots and super centers in there.
And then I will, like, you know what I'm going to do then, Chris? I'm going to walk to what I'm sure will be a 200-degree parking lot by the time this shit happens. And I'm going to lay down in it, and I'm going to let the sun cook my fucking soul out of my body so I can leave this piece of shit country.
But yeah, so environmentalism is a thing that's going crazy right now, especially with national parks. We talked about that a couple of episodes ago. But I feel like we should really move on to the other topic. We've finally gotten out of State of the Union hell.
Finally.
Thank God. I think we should really talk about the federal funding that has been stripped clean from colleges that allow illegal protests. All right. Yep. I'm gonna ask you two, what the is an illegal protest?
Yeah, there's no such thing. That's something a Hitler says.
Even Martin Luther King Jr., who Republicans like to co-opt as a Republican peacemaker, even he admitted that riots are the voices of the unheard. Okay? Mm-hmm. So like if you're identifying what is an illegal protest, that is literally just one step away from being able to identify what is illegal art, what is illegal, speech, illegal anything.
Illegal speech, like that's like, put the word illegal next to any of those things, and like you're just a fascist. Like, yeah. That's what that is. That's not. You said a step away. I don't. Well, I mean, it's a step away from that process and fascism, I suppose. But like, this is just fascism. Like, yeah. like, all he had to say was illegal protest. And I'm just like, all right, dude. Like, this is, you are literally like, I haven't read 1984, but like I feel like this is something somebody would say that would compare that to. Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, he said, it was said, American students will be permanently expelled or, depending on the crime, arrested.
Crime, arrested, like, none of these words should be involved, and this gets back into that whole bullshit of, like, Trump voters, like, one of their big talking points will be, they're very anti-government, they're, like, very, shrink government, but, like, that's, like, just the if nothing else was, that's, like, the epitome of overstepping. It should be up to a college.
And, of course, if we're talking about violent protests here, because that's probably what they're talking about, I don't think so. I think they are genuinely trying to target just like general acts of assembly. But even if they are specifically talking about violent protests, 9 times out of 10, these protests are started by the police. Mm-hmm. The violence is caused by the police. 9 times out of 10. So, like, that's just a big you to freedom of assembly. Woo! Yeah, we got that. And I'm just going to ask, how is, a pro-Palestinian protest on, like, a college campus where, like, you camp out and whatnot, like, on, like, the college's quad or something? How is that illegal? But, like, the protests that were, like, akin to January 6th or the Unite the Right in Charlottesville.
Yeah, don't even tell him about that motherfucker in Charlottesville that, like, was it Charlottesville that the guy in, like, that muscle car fucking, like, drove through people and killed this poor young woman at the time?
You see, this is what I was saying. I don't have all the answers.
What? You don't remember that?
I do not.
Okay, in my defense, I thought that was, like, one of the more prominent, like, pieces. I got distracted. What? Okay, so do you remember in Charlottesville, like, during the protests when, like, one guy drove through the crowd?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Put in your notes. I put Charlottesville, but I didn't put the rat.
Yeah, no, that dude literally.
Yeah, no, that's what the whole controversy was about. Like, a dude literally just drove a truck through a crowd of people.
Like, that was a, like, direct murder, like, at that point, like, and Donald Trump is, like, you don't even mention that to Donald Trump, like.
Oh, shit. Damn. Call this out.
You need to turn your TV off, Chris.
Turn my TV off, but, yeah.
Also, like, are you just gonna single out all the colleges and, well-educated people, but you're just gonna, don't put any mind to the neo-Nazis gathering on highways with AKs and shit.
Yeah, they're a bunch of good old boys. Like, they're fine.
Turn the other cheek when they come around. Like, they're literally putting banners over highways and all kinds of shit. Just literally scaring people as they're driving by. It's so stupid, dude.
And it's like, this isn't even, like, conservative shit anymore. Like, all of these banners that are being put on top of highways are literally just neo-Nazi programs.
Yes, like, it's literally just Nazis. Like, can someone say something about this? It's so annoying.
Like, okay, listen. Okay, freedom of speech, all right?
Oh, when I said, can someone say something about this, I meant, like, an actual politician.
Yeah, I know, but, like, freedom of speech, okay? I think it exists, yes. But, like, I really don't think that you should be so openly talking about wanting to foresee the extermination of the Jewish race. Call me woke, say I don't believe in freedom of speech, but hey, I just don't think that should be a thing. I guess I'm a terrible person. I guess I'm fucking Joseph Stalin or something. I don't even know.
That's what they'll say. That's
what they'll say. They'll call me a tanky or something, which I'm not. But like, still, I mean, I just don't think, you know.
I have a good opinion on this. Well, in my eyes. Once you take all of that Nazi shit and whatever out of 4chan, out of all the the bullshit websites that you make online where you post anonymously and shit, once you organize and come out into the public, I feel like we should have the right to know these people's identities.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, listen, freedom of speech, but just let me know who you are. Please, let me know who you are.
So I can stay far,
so you can deal with the effects of that.
Away.
And when I see the effects, I don't mean like I'm just gonna kill you or some bullshit. No, like if you want to do that, you can just be exonerated. Whoa, be exiled by society, bro. Yeah. Like, you should not have a job. You shouldn't even be making fries at that point, bro. You can be begging outside of the McDonald's.
And at this point, like, from a freedom of speech standpoint, they very much have the freedom of speech, but also, like, they talk, you know, the far right now talks a big game about how they want to, like, they like sucking corporate is what I'm basically trying to say. And by extension, I'm sure they love companies having the freedom to exhibit, like, you know, fire at will policies. Like, you know, they can fire somebody if they just don't like them. Well, by that extension, then a company should be able to fire someone because, they are a fucking Nazi. Exactly. It's bad for the company atmosphere. Exactly. And at that point, it's no longer freedom of speech. It's like, it's freedom of a lot of different things.
You should have the freedom to say what you want. I should have the freedom to know who's saying what they want. Yeah. And like, obviously, when it's online and shit, I don't really care. Yeah. You can say all you want, bro. But when you're just like going out in public and shit, I want to know who you are, bro, so that I can keep my distance.
Yeah, if you're like, you know what? Do your fucking your fucked up salutes and protests. Well, fucking like Nazi rallies all you want, because then now I know who you are. Like now exactly. now I just know to not fuck with you, just in general. Like, well, everybody, I think this has been a really good episode. I would tell you what we might be covering next week, but to be honest, none of us have any clue. There's news every week. It is all so bad all the time. We literally cannot get a second to breathe with this shit. So in that regard, I guess we'll see you next week. This is Grayson. This is Grayson that you've been crashing out with. This is our friend Chris.
Hey, what's going on? This is Chris. I can't wait to see you next week.
And say goodbye to our friend Jaren.
All right, we'll crash out with you guys next week.
See ya.